We know that Kushner pocketed $2 billion and a $25 million a year management fee from the Saudi government, and the UAE and the Qatar government have also kicked in money. So there's more than $3 billion in there. We want to be able to reconstruct what exactly those countries got out of it.
And yesterday, Congressman Raskin, who is the ranking member on the House Oversight Committee, sent an official letter requesting that his chairman, James Comer of Kentucky, finally subpoena Kushner for his sketchy dealings with Saudi Arabia. Kushner, as you may recall, founded a private equity firm called Affinity Partners. I love those names. Just after leaving the White House, thanks in large part to huge investments from the Saudi government and other Gulf nations. He reportedly took in just a little bit of money, $2 billion from a sovereign wealth fund chaired by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He had been tasked with managing Middle Eastern policy, you'll recall, and worked closely with MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, throughout Trump's administration. Remember, he was the guy best suited in this country to deal with that. A report from The Intercept during the Trump years found that MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, bragged about having Kushner in his pocket. Kushner was also deeply involved in a $110 billion weapons sale to Saudi Arabia in 2017. And because of those ties, which many would call shady, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee are renewing their effort to obtain Affinity Partners documents and subpoena Kushner, which they've been trying to do for over a year now. Earlier this month, keep this in mind, Democrats have been trying to do it for over a year. Even Republicans, James Comer said Kushner crossed the line of ethics, but is now shooting down Raskin's idea to request for an inquiry. Jamie Raskin isn't going quietly, though. In his interviews with Chris Hayes, he explained again why Kushner's cozy relationship with the Saudis should be investigated.
Remember that the Saudi Arabian sovereign wealth fund advisors recommended against giving that money to Jared Kushner on the grounds that he was inexperienced and they were asking a ridiculous sum of money. And their advisors were overruled by the homicidal crown prince himself, Mohammed bin Salman, who of course had been essentially bailed out of his situation that he'd gotten himself into when he ordered the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi back in 2018. So, the Trumps did a lot for them. And I think Donald Trump bragged about it, saying in essence, he saved the prince's posterior multiple times, and he wanted to continually remind him of that. Well, we know that Jared Kushner created a business the day after the Trump administration ended, and within a few months he had brought home billions of dollars from the Saudi government.
It's not just a business that he created, because Chris Hayes reminded Raskin that Kushner had pocketed so much money through these deals, and Raskin said it does sound a bit like a quid pro quo.
It's not just you get billions for your fund, but like the management fee that they're charging is a lot of money, and that's like basically direct income for the guy running it.
I mean, that looks like a straight up payoff to me, a quid pro quo. $25 million a year. I mean, like that's the interest you would have basically on a $500 million that he's pocketing directly from Mohammed bin Salman, who was obviously expressing his gratitude to the Trump administration for going there first in Trump's foreign travels, for the cover up of the assassination of Khashoggi, for tilting towards Saudi Arabia in the Yemen war, and on and on. The Saudis basically got whatever they wanted.
Yeah, and it's pretty clear Kushner and Trump benefited from that relationship with the Saudis, not just from bankrolling Jared's little equity fund or the money that's in his pockets now. A year after his presidency, Trump golf courses began hosting tournaments for the Saudi fund-backed Live Golf. Separately, the former president's family company, the Trump Organization, secured an agreement with a Saudi real estate company that plans to build a Trump hotel as part of a $4 billion golf resort in Oman. So there is a lot going on here, and it also forecasts, Cenk and Aida, to the idea that these investigations into previous administrations are just going to go on forever and ever, because once the Democrats, and I predict they will next year, take over the House again, you can see them going back to the Trump administration and looking into Jared Kushner, as they should. But it brings up the idea, when does that end as well?
Yeah, so a couple of really important things out of this. First of all, you get a specific number of $25 million a year that Jared Kushner's getting. I mean, we were saying that what Hunter Biden was getting from the Ukrainian gas board company was ridiculous, and it was. It wasn't anywhere near $25 million. And as I explained on yesterday's show, The Intercept broke a story with 3 sources explaining the national security community was irate at Jared Kushner. He took a presidential daily briefing. He knew who our allies in the Saudi government were and our sources in the Saudi government. He went to Saudi Arabia, had a meeting with MBS. A week later, MBS arrested all of his opponents, including our sources. And by the way, one of them was tortured to death. So this is as awful a scandal as you could possibly imagine. Now, I want you to imagine for a second if Obama had done this and one of Obama's kids did it, or the Clintons and Chelsea Clinton went and cut a deal with the Saudis. One of our sources get murdered. By the way, MBS also took billions of dollars from the people that he arrested. And then Chelsea sets up a $2 billion fund and she gets paid $25 million a year. Now, what do you think Republicans would have done? And how do you think they would have reacted? Imagine if Hunter Biden had gone and done a deal with the Saudis, they would have said, oh my God, radical Muslim terrorist, et cetera, et cetera. And Jared Kushner does it, and I guess Republicans are okay with corruption. This is the most obvious case of corruption I've ever seen. I can't thank Jamie Raskin enough for staying on this, for finally bringing attention to it, for putting a spotlight on it, and for going on TV and talking about Democrats. What's wrong with you guys? How hard was that? You go on MSNBC, they'll tell you every night, all night long, they don't care. There's no reason why the MSNBC wouldn't have you on. And you go on there and you say, hey, my kid, can you believe he took $25 million? And it becomes a national issue. They should have been doing this a long time ago, but it's okay. I'll take it. 2 more facts you should know. It's not just the $2 billion from the Saudis. He added to that with money that came from the UAE and Qatar as well. They finally settled their beef with Qatar. And so that fund is now worth up to, sources say, about $3 billion. And the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia, the people who run it, advised the government of Saudi Arabia, do not do this deal with Jared Kushner. He does not have a good track record of investment, and he doesn't have nearly enough experience. And MBS overruled them and said, yeah, trust me, we got to do this deal with Jared Kushner. And so they did it against the advice and counsel of their actual financial experts.
You know, I'm not going to talk about something that I'm not well versed in, but I do know that what's becoming very normal to Americans is, we always talked about how corrupt politicians were. Now we're seeing it and it's being normalized, and it's just becoming part of our day, where every day we hear something crazy that the government has done, people in office, people surrounding the government, and it's just becoming normal. And because people are like, well, the government is corrupt, that's what they do. There's so many people suffering in this country. We don't have access to health care like we should. So many people who are unhoused throughout this country, and these people are throwing around money. Not to mention the way that Jamal Khashoggi's death was. It was they made a mockery of that man. That man was strangled, that man was dismembered. And it's just normal. It's become, I'm really concerned about the state of Americans, that we consume all of this stuff and it's becoming normal, and nobody is doing anything.
And Cenk, you said to imagine a situation where it happened in reverse. You don't have to imagine it. I mean, Hunter Biden, whether it's Saudi or China, it's the same idea, right? I mean, it's taking somebody and going after it. But what it does is it dulls the impact of how bad this Kushner stuff is, and how this Middle East peace plan that was basically paid for. I don't think there's a precedent for it in American history, and if there is, there's not one that rises much past this. It's really terrible.
Yeah, and so the allegations against Hunter Biden are nowhere near this level of money. Not within the ballpark of this guy. I mean, and I'm just talking about the allegations, let alone the fact that they have evidence that Hunter Biden's a cheesy dude who definitely capitalized on his name to get money from folks in businesses he has no expertise in. So denying that is crazy, okay? But they have no evidence connecting him to Joe Biden. And I gotta remind you, Jared Kushner is not just Donald Trump's son-in-law. He ran our Middle East policy. In fact, Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State at the time, said, I don't even know who the Secretary of State is anymore, because he thought Jared Kushner had totally taken over the job. And then he uses it to benefit himself. And if you remember, the national security community at one point got so furious with Kushner that they denied him security clearance. It is very likely that it was over this event. And so this is a guy who is a borderline traitor if these allegations are true. And he did it for money and greed. And Republicans, look, a lot of times I attack Republicans like no one else does, right? But I also give them credit, the Republican voters, on things they deserve credit on. And they really genuinely hate corruption. But then when it comes to Trump, they're like, except Trump and his family members were totally okay with over the top, crazy, terrible corruption as long as it's Trump. And if you say that, then you don't hate corruption. You just want to punish the other guys and don't mind at all that your guys are getting totally unjustly enriched at our expense. So make up your mind, MAGA. Do you hate corruption or don't you?
Right, and do you hate the Trump hotel and that the fact that the Secret Service paid over what they generally pay to stay in the Trump hotel? And do you hate Live Golf going to these Trump country clubs? And do you hate the fact that Trump now has a contract to build a resort? All of this because of Saudi Arabia. The emoluments clause is there for a reason. And if Trump, he's never going to be president again. But should he be? What happens to all of this again? I mean, it just gets replayed because he wasn't called out by the people who are put in power to call him out. That Trump hotel thing, not as bad as Jared Kushner taking all this money because it didn't impact policy, but it was basically the biggest, most glaring violation of the emoluments clause of the Constitution.
And guys, what do we look at? One last quick thing here. $4 billion golf course in Oman in the middle of the desert. And they're gonna spend $4 billion on a golf course. No, that's an enterprise to skim off the top to whoever needed something, right? Whoever did them a favor. That's my guess. I don't know how you build a $4 billion golf course. You could build 40 golf courses at that price. So there's something terribly, terribly corrupt going on in the Gulf, which again, by the way, are radical fundamentalist Muslim theocracies. But apparently Republicans are cool with that too now these days. The Saudi government's ideology is indistinguishable from ISIS's. They have the same exact, there's someone, today there was a news broke that someone criticized MBS, that's the crown prince we've been talking about, the one that ordered the decapitation of an American journalist. They're going to execute someone who has 10 Twitter followers because he criticized MBS. They're going to murder him. And that's the deal. Those are the guys that Trump and Kushner are making deal after deal with. And now MAGA's proud about that. You guys got to make up your mind entirely. Are you honest and earnest about anything? Do you really hate corruption? Or should I take back everything I ever said about that?
We need to stop referring to them as a family and they're a crime syndicate. Like, we need to really start talking about these people and calling them what they are. They're criminals. They don't care. They don't care about you. If you're watching this to hate on it, they don't care about you. They don't care that you don't have your diabetes medication. They don't care that you can't go to the doctor. All they care is about the almighty dollar. And they're gonna get it. It's really, really disgusting. And the fact that we are negotiating what's bad, what's worse, this is not as bad as this, is very indicative of how bad it is that we are now saying, hey, it's not that bad when you kill somebody with a knife than you do with a shotgun. It's all bad stuff. And we need to stop accepting this for ourselves because our country is really a joke.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.